Welcome back, scholars, to our Digital Academy. I am Professor Spark. Whether we are turning the pages of a timeless novel, our mission remains the same. Will today's sweep us into the concert hall? Let's find out together.
All right, let's get right into it. Today's explainer is taking us on a journey high up into the snowy peaks of the Swiss Alps and deep into the philosophical heart of the 20th century. We are unpacking Thomas Mann's monumental 1924 masterpiece, The Magic Mountain. Now, I want to be clear right off the bat. This isn't just some straightforward story about a hospital. Not at all. It's a profound, incredibly layered meditation on civilization, mortality, and the competing ideas that quite literally shaped the modern world. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through this because we're going to break down this beautifully complex narrative into its most fascinating core elements.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by exploring the concept of the miniature European civilization. Then, we'll look at the illusion of time, followed by the surprising seduction of illness. After that, we'll dive right into the great ideological duel at the center of the book, before reaching the incredible epiphany in the snow chapter. And finally, we'll bring it all crashing back down with a return to reality.
Section 1. The Miniature European Civilization.
So, our entry point into this world is a young, practical, and frankly, somewhat unimaginative German engineer named Hans Castorp. Hans travels up to this luxurious tuberculosis sanatorium in the Swiss Alps, intending to just pay a quick 3-week visit to his cousin, Joachim. But, as you might guess, a minor lung diagnosis changes the whole shebang. That little 3-week vacation, it becomes a permanent relocation. He essentially steps out of his normal life and straight into a microcosm, an isolated, miniature environment that perfectly represents all the qualities and, more importantly, the fatal flaws of European civilization at the time.
Okay, let's dive into this because the fundamental irony Thomas Mann establishes right away is the patients themselves. I mean, they're drawn from all over the continent. They are incredibly wealthy. They eat these elaborate multi-course meals. They engage in brilliant cultured debates. But underneath that glittering surface, they're physically diseased and morally exhausted. They spend their days just resting on balconies, waiting for a recovery that, for many of them, never actually comes. They are quite literally a continent in waiting, a spot-on symbol for Europe just before 1914.
You see, by ascending this mountain, the patients are completely separated from ordinary life. Down in the valley, the world operates on strict schedules, politics, family duties, productive labor, the daily grind. But up here, all of those ordinary rules just disappear. It's wild. The mountain functions as Plato's academy, a medieval monastery, a hospital, a dream world, and even a kind of purgatory all at the same time. To actually descend from this mountain would mean returning to reality, and that is something a lot of these patients are absolutely terrified to do.
Section 2. The illusion of time.
Now, down in the flatlands, the normal world, time moves mechanically, right? We measure it in hours, rapid train schedules, strict work shifts. It's fast, it's relentless. But on the mountain, Thomas Mann argues, that time is experienced entirely psychologically. When Hans first arrives, his 3-week plan feels totally solid and concrete. But as he settles into the rigid, quiet, monotonous routine of the hospital, time just begins to melt. The relentless routine causes entire months to simply vanish almost unnoticed. Yet on the flip side, a single day of novel intellectual discovery can stretch out forever.
So the crucial point is this number right here, 7. 7 years. That is how long Hans Castorp actually ends up staying on the mountain. Life itself becomes completely suspended for him. And this staggering distortion of time asks a really profound question. One I think we still face today in our own age of digital escapism and endless doom scrolling. Does human life actually gain its meaning through active momentum and doing things, or through detached, endless contemplation?
Section 3. The Seduction of Illness. Here, we see a complete and total inversion of how we normally view human health. In the real world, health is good, sickness is bad. Simple, right? But in the sanatorium, tuberculosis isn't just a disease. It actually grants patients social prestige. Sickness is viewed up here as a sign of intellectual depth and refinement. The healthy people down in the valley, they're looked down on. They're seen as simplistic, ordinary, totally unrefined. Tuberculosis here is a powerful metaphor for spiritual decay. It's Mann's sharp critique, suggesting that European civilization had reached a point of such extreme decadence that it had actually started glorifying weakness over vitality.
And absolutely nothing represents this seductive, dangerous inversion quite like the character of Claudia's show chart. Hans falls deeply, almost irrationally, in love with this mysterious Russian patient.
But Claudia isn't just a simple love interest. She represents Eastern mystery, radical freedom, and the intoxicating pull of illness itself. She perfectly embodies the romantic idea that beauty, erotic desire, and mortality are inseparable. For Hans, his attraction to her represents the ultimate seduction, the temptation to step away from practical life entirely and just surrender to mortality. Section 4. The Great Ideological Duel. Two incredibly brilliant mentors take it upon themselves to educate Hans, presenting a stark, deeply consequential ideological clash. Now, keeping things strictly impartial here, on one side we have the Italian humanist Lodovico Settembrini. He champions the values of the Enlightenment: reason, human rights, liberal democracy, science, and the belief that education can continuously improve humanity. On the exact opposite side is Leo Nafta, a brilliant former Jesuit. Nafta fiercely defends anti-rationalism. He argues that freedom only produces chaos, and that humanity actually craves absolute authority, religious absolutism, and even revolutionary extremism to cleanse itself. As observers, we have to recognize that Mann isn't just having two characters casually chat over dinner. He is quite literally mapping out the architectural blueprints of 20th century political thought. And this brilliantly illustrates what was looming right on Europe's horizon. These endless debates anticipate fascism, communism, religious extremism, and the intense struggles of liberal democracy. And get this, neither character completely defeats the other with just words. In fact, their conflict eventually escalates into a literal physical duel, which shockingly ends in Nafta's suicide. It is a terrifying foreshadowing of how these very ideologies would soon tear the entire European continent apart. Through all of this, the intense debates, the music of Schubert and Wagner he listens to, his deep dives into medicine and psychology, Hans undergoes a profound transformation. The Magic Mountain operates as a classic Bildungsroman, basically a coming-of-age story. But unlike a traditional story where the hero learns one single definitive truth, Hans's education leads him somewhere else entirely. He learns that absolute truths, like the strict dogma Settembrini and Nafta peddle, are illusions. Real maturity for Hans is found in accepting ambiguity and complexity. Section 5. The Snow Chapter Epiphany. So, defying the strict, comfortable rules of the sanatorium, Hans skis out into the mountains and becomes hopelessly lost in a blinding, terrifying whiteout blizzard. He is exhausted, freezing to death, and he collapses in the snow, slipping into a profound subconscious vision. First, he dreams of this beautiful, sunlit, idyllic civilization founded on pure human compassion. But then, the dream turns nightmarish. It twists, revealing scenes of horrific, bloody ritual violence and innate cruelty. In this frozen state, he is forced to confront the absolute duality of human nature, our incredible capacity for breathtaking grace alongside our potential for horrifying destruction. Waking up in the freezing snow, surviving by an absolute thread, Hans synthesizes everything he's learned over the years into one single, incredibly powerful revelation. It's the moral core of the whole novel. Human beings must reject the worship of death and choose love, despite knowing that death is inevitable. He realizes that the sanatorium's romanticization of illness and decay is a trap. Yes, mortality is a fact, we all know that, but yielding to the dark fascination with death, as Nafta did, as Claudia represented, is a fundamental failure of the human spirit. Love and goodness must be chosen consciously, in defiance of death. Section 6. A Return to Reality. Let's move to and see how this builds, because for 7 years, the Magic Mountain has been perfectly, comfortably isolated. But history? History always catches up. In 1914, World War I erupts. The suspended animation of the sanatorium is instantly, violently shattered. The illusion of time is broken. Endless contemplation is suddenly replaced by brute, catastrophic action. Hans Castorp, the man who spent 7 years debating philosophy in a bathrobe, packs his bags, descends the mountain, and marches directly into the mud, the blood, and the horrific reality of the battlefield. The novel ends completely ambiguously. We don't even know if Hans survives the war. Thomas Mann leaves us, and Hans, right in the fire of history. The mountain was a training ground, a place to understand the conflicting forces of the human soul before the world set itself ablaze. Which leaves us with this final, timeless question. When faced with the absolute certainty of our own mortality and the terrifying ideological storms of our own times, what will we choose? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.